Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining us. I'm Ron Corning. You know, we've heard that saying, keeping up with the Joneses. How about this? How to be healthier than the Joneses. This is a guide that really so many people are going to identify with. And Dr. James, we're on a first name basis. He goes by Dr. James, like Dr. Phil, right? He's here with us now, Dr. James Salvo, to talk about his book, How to Be Healthier Than the Joneses.
Thank you.
And it's so interesting to me. It's one of those guides I look at it and I think it's so simple in so many ways, and yet we overlook so many of the suggestions in here. It's like, why has no one thought of this before?
That's a really good question. Health in America, we've struggled for a long time. We've made it too complicated, I think. I think sometimes when we step back and just make it a little bit simpler, we can actually change our health.
Yeah, so you start with some very basic tenets that I think, to your point, are overlooked because we get so down in the weeds with the complicated process of finding a doctor, being diagnosed, getting medicated, and so forth. You say invest in your health like you'd invest in a portfolio. So someone out there who's investing in their retirement may not necessarily be thinking about their health in the same way. How do they do that? Give me an example.
Well, we spend so much time trying to accumulate a massive amount of wealth, right?
Sure.
We work really, really, really hard for it. Well, when we die, what are we going to do with it? We can't do anything with it. So our health is really...
Kids are hoping you leave it to them.
True, but we want to enjoy it.
Right.
Okay, if we work that hard, we really want to be able to enjoy it. So our health is really our number one asset. We think of our assets as our house, as our car, maybe our boat, but our number one asset is truly our health.
And it seems like when Americans get to the point where they are allowed some financial freedom or to live their lives and not work near retirement age, then they're struck with a health crisis, which limits their ability to put that money to use to create opportunities for themselves. So how do we strike a balance? How do we change? Because this is a cultural shift. This isn't just about following steps, because there are countries that are much healthier than ours that don't spend nearly as much money on healthcare.
Well, that's for sure. The health crisis in America, we could really call it, needs to be more of a mind shift change. And that's really what the book was all about. It was just trying to give people little tips, little baby steps to start taking to start investing in their health.
And that's what I like about the book, is that it's not a physician's guide to X, Y, and Z. I mean, it's not an encyclopedia. It's literally empowering people to do the smallest of things. So start with cutting back on alcohol, right?
If that's needed,
If
definitely.
that's needed, if you're finding that you're dependent on it, or it's not adding to your quality of life, or cut certain things out of your diet. We seem to be a feast or famine kind of culture when it comes to nutrition, health, diet. We diet so that we think we look better and can fit into a certain size clothes. And we don't really look at our diet for the sake of the health benefits. Would you say that's true?
That's exactly correct, because most people think if we look good and feel good, we're healthy. Well, look at Patrick Swayze for a good example. He was an amazing looking guy.
Oh, physically, I mean, you would have thought he would have to be in the best of health.
You would think so, but what did he die of?
It was pancreatic cancer.
Pancreatic
wasn't it?
cancer.
Same with Michael Landon.
There you
Also,
go. Good
yeah.
example.
Yeah.
So cancer, you can have stage 4 cancer and not have one symptom. If you have stage 4 cancer, how well are you functioning?
Yeah. Not knowing enough about Patrick Swayze's history, do we know if there were factors in his life that he could have changed that might have prevented it, I guess is the question.
That's definitely a question. And without knowing him and knowing his background, we don't know that. But the typical American, we got to understand that cancer is a lifestyle disease. And if we have a healthier lifestyle, we're going to be able to fight or prevent cancer way better.
I guess the point is, don't take for granted just because you look good that you're healthy.
That's
Sometimes
exactly
the two
correct.
are not interconnected. And it is amazing because we'll spend a lot of money to look good, right? People are getting all sorts of procedures, liposuction or cool sculpt, and they're getting Botoxed and they're getting facials, and yet they might be ignoring their internal health. And when you think about it in those respects, it's kind of mind-boggling. You're missing the point of what it is to live a good life. It's from the inside out.
Exactly. Your body's the most powerful healing device on the planet. Your body does everything. You know, we as chiropractors like to say we don't need a lot of help. We just need no interference.
So, okay, you talk about investing in your health like you'd invest in a retirement account. And that means being mindful of what you're doing nutritionally, exercise, seeing the doctor regularly. You also have the 3 hows of health: how you function, how you heal, how you adapt. Run down those for us quickly. What does that mean?
Well, health itself, if we break down the definition, it's how we heal. So if we're not healing well, are we healthy?
Yeah, heal is the basis of the word health.
Exactly.
Light bulb moment. Yeah, I hadn't thought about that.
So if we're not healing well, we're not healthy. So how do we know if we're healing well or not?
Well, we rely on doctors, but let's not miss the fact that there are a lot of people who don't have regular checkups, regular exams, or maybe not feeling well and don't share it, or are not mindful of a body change, and so they have a crisis that's brewing and they do nothing about it because they may be unaware.
Well, and the biggest thing with feel too, if you put your hand on a hot stove, what's your body going to tell you to do?
Remove it immediately.
Take it off, right?
And you're gonna have the effects of being burned.
Exactly. Now, if you put your hand on that hot stove and you just try to take medication to not feel it, what's eventually going to happen to your hand?
You're not going to feel it, but your hand's going to burn off.
Exactly.
So that lends itself to something else you talk about. Medication should not be a lifestyle. And I don't think there's a better analogy than what you just said. When you medicate a symptom, but you don't identify the root cause, you're setting yourself up for a long-term health crisis, are you not?
Exactly. When your body's trying to tell you something and all you're doing is trying to turn off those alarms and not really fix what your body is trying to tell you, your problem's going to get worse.
Okay, so why are we so over-medicated? I know you love that
That's going to
question.
get us down. Yeah. Well, that's going to get us.
Listen, we know the pharmaceutical companies make a lot of money, and we know that reps are out there repping these medicines and their benefits, and doctors are buying into it. But those doctors come from medical schools where they're taught that medicine is a tool in their toolbox. I guess the question I have for you is it a tool that we've just come to overuse, or we've just come to expect that for every problem there's a pill?
Let's go back to the root. Where did medication come from?
Well, they come from pharmaceutical companies.
Okay. Well, I mean, back in the day, the medication came from. Let's start with penicillin.
Okay.
Okay. Penicillin was an amazing drug that came out that saved a lot of lives. Okay. It was an antibiotic. So when people have a bacterial infection, they were able to take this pill and it would help them fight the bacterial infection. Okay. So we latched onto that and said, oh my gosh, this is a miracle drug. This is amazing. Well, I think the problem is we took that philosophy and we turned it into a lifestyle. Now we need a drug for this. Now we need a drug for this. Now we need a drug for this. And I don't think that's what true health should be. If it was, we'd be the healthiest country in the world.
So let me ask you this. I'm going to get some personal advice here, if that's okay. But I know there are a lot of people who can relate to that. I got to a certain age last year where just like that, it seemed there was a switch in terms of my blood work.
Okay.
Higher cholesterol, and which I'd never had a problem with, and high blood pressure. So I've tried to take steps, and I think it's working, to exercise more and to take off a few lbs. But in the meantime, I'm on a medication for high blood pressure, and I don't want to be on that medication. Is there a way for me to not be dependent on that moving forward and get my blood pressure back in check?
Well, let's go back to what is your body telling you? When you have high blood pressure, what is your body telling you? Your heart does what?
It pumps blood.
And what is blood really designed to do?
Well, I mean, it's the life blood. It's keeping you alive.
Well, it's a transport system.
And it's sending nutrients and white blood cells and red blood cells. And, you're the doctor. You tell me.
Well, I'll try to get you to think. So your heart's pumping the blood. The blood's transporting nutrients and oxygen and even clearing out toxicity out of the body. So what would cause that heart to have to work harder? Could it be a lack of nutrients? So if your body is
Not
trying
to throw
to
my
get
doctor under the bus, but we did not have this conversation. He just said you need to go on lisinopril,
well, I was just talking to
20 milligrams.
another patient the other day, and he asked me the same thing. Why do I need to my doctor says I need to be taking blood pressure meds. Why? And I try to get patients to think first, why would your blood pressure be high in the first place? Figure out what the root cause would be, and
Does
then
stress cause high blood pressure?
100%.
Okay, well, that answers that question.
Okay. Well, let's see why. Okay, let's break down the physiology. Let's have some fun here and break down the physiology and see exactly why stress would increase blood pressure. Now, you've heard of fight and flight.
Right.
Okay, there's two. Let's break down just simply the two main systems: fight and flight, and rest and digest.
Okay.
Okay. When you are stressed, you go into
fight mode.
fight and flight. So, in order to fight, in order to flight, you need more nutrients and blood in your arms and legs, right? If a tiger comes through that wall over here, there's going to be a Dr. James size hole in this door over here.
So your body is physiologically reacting to the stress.
Exactly.
And from an evolutionary standpoint, we're known to release certain chemicals, endorphins, and so
Hormones.
forth, and hormones. And as a result, your heart begins to work faster and harder.
Exactly.
Okay.
So, flashback 1,000 years ago. What would stress us out?
Well, like you said, being attacked by hunter-gatherers, being attacked by, a wild animal
Exactly.
would put you on notice, right?
So when that happens, you're exercising, right? You're using your body to either run or something to burn off all of that excess hormones.
And in modern times, we're not.
What would stress us out now?
Work, driving,
Traffic.
yeah, just regular environmental causes. And rather than exercise to contend with it, we go to the bar.
Exactly.
I mean, I don't personally, but there are people who
That's
do
one way
that.
to
They
do
try to de-stress. No, but we do. It is part of a cycle of, right?
Exactly.
Of dealing with stress, body reacts, and then we self-medicate.
Exactly.
So back to the question, what's the solution?
Well, if you're
To
shunting,
exercise more to respond to those, or to find a way to de-stress?
well, that would be great too. I mean, meditation is a great way to mentally de-stress. If it's more of a physical stress on the body, you can physically de-stress.
And an increase in weight can also cause that.
100%.
So diet, lose weight, meditate, and maybe exercise to respond to the stress in your life.
There you go.
All to meet the end goal of coming off meds. That would be my intention, because I don't want to be on the meds, but we're not that culture.
Exactly. And I think that's the hardest thing to get past but first we have to start creating the mindset of how to be healthy. We've lost that completely in this culture. And that's why we get sick and we go do what? We go
to
take
the
drugs.
doctor. And they're so quick, and I love my doctor, but they're all so quick to write a prescription.
And doctors have great hearts and really, really good intentions.
But they only know what they know.
Exactly.
And what they've been taught by a system.
Exactly. And I think it's the system that's flawed more than anything.
All right. Well, the goal of this podcast and this show is for you to inspire people to think more and differently about their health and take some of these steps, and we'll break it down. We'll take your questions as you're watching. You'll be able to interact with us in various ways. You can go to healthierthanthejoneses.com to learn more about Dr. James and his practice. And we'll continue to talk about a range of health issues and how you might be able to find a holistic approach to living a better life. And also the next show, I want to delve into a little bit of what inspired you to get involved in medicine and where that passion comes from. And I know it comes from a personal experience, and so we'll delve into that. Thank you for joining us, everyone. We'll see you next time.